let's now go over the sales and rent section. So first thing first, looking at the file structure, how we've done pretty much everything is that in the CRC folder we have one folder used for the API calls that we need for the backend. So if we need to upload files, we use this, and as well as the general API calls for getting, posting, updating, and whatnot. As well as we have the components. So this is just general components that are able to get reused across the application. And then the main part is the different pages. So we just broke it down into section depending on which section you are looking at. Honestly speaking, I think if I ever had to redo this, I would do it differently and just make it component based. So I would try to use Redux to make this a lot more reusable, because there's a lot of components that just had to be copy paste. So if we could have reduced that, would have saved us a lot of time. But anyway, let's have a look at the sales and rent. So to load the different sections, we handle this logic in the switch component. So this is just using React router DOM. So if you're on the general path, you'll just render the component home. And then if you are looking at the add update, you'll just look at the component add update, and same thing for the details component. Let's now have a look at the home page section. So to understand it, when we first render, we render a card. So render card is just from ant d, that's comes from there. So we first determine the tabs list, sales or rent, and then we display those components based off which component we are rendering. So let's look at the logic for that. So the logic for that is it determines which section, so sales or rent, and then we just have a basic list that just renders for each component in the list. One thing to take a note is that we set the current date to current data, and then we just populate it from there. And as well, another thing to take into consideration looking at this is that the title is just the header with the search feature, and we also double check. So this is the component for that. And we also check if you're logged in. You'll get the button to add an event, post or whatnot, if you're logged in and you have permission. We'll be now going over the add and update component for the sales and rent section. So let's just give you a quick demonstration so you understand the UI, and then we can have a quick look at the code after. So if you click on the add, you get a pop-up page for all the different components that is needed. So a title, so let's just say house, my house that I want to sell, and you can either choose if it's for sale or for rent. So we're sale, and then the price is actually a string, because if they choose to go with rent, they could either say 1,000 bi-weekly or every month or whatever, depending on how they want it. So, and then we now enter the lot number, a quick description, so quick description, let's just say, and then we can also add pictures. So let's add a few. And then once you've entered everything, you can now say confirm. It will show you a page, confirm model, letting you know all the things you've entered in, and as well as a quick list of all the files you've entered in. So once you're happy with this, you can then create it. So we can now have a look at our posts. and as you can see, we can see all the information about it. And then if you wanted to, you can have the contact seller, or if you wanted to, you could update your post again and change it to whatever you want. Let's now have a look at the code. So if we go into the add and update folder under index, we have all the information about the post creation. And so if we look at the render, this is just a basic showing all the different components about our post creation. We also add true or false to determine uh, if we have to display the confirm model after everything has been correctly inputted and you're ready to post. As well, we create custom select. Custom select gets just waits for the Axios call to finish before it then gets displayed. And then the other thing we have that is interesting in this page is the uploading. So the uploading has its own uh, page for that because we reuse it for the different pages. So basically how it works is, so looking at the render, it's just a upload that is from and library, and so it takes in all the file props, and this is also handles all the logic behind it. And so if we have a look at that right here, so the default list is all the components that needs to be placed into this when we are updating a post. So that handles that logic. If we want to have a better look at this, if so first things first, we need to first um, get the local storage for those components. So we just store every component that needs to be updated into load files. And so once it is loaded, use effect is called. So it determines if there's any files. If there's none, just say true and display the upload image section. But if not, we first have to format it. So it just goes through the list and ensures that it has the right layout that the anti-upload can use properly. And then once that's done, it's then pushed to the state for file list items, and then we can then display it so it has everything that needs to be displayed. And then coming back to the file props, we have though the action. So the action is just the file uploading. So what is the URL for uploading files? And then we also pass in a header. This just makes sure that you are logged in and then you have the rights to upload a file to the server. So once actions are performed, they get registered in the onChange event. So we before doing anything, we have to determine what type of event, if it's either removing or done. If it's neither, it doesn't do anything. So if it's done, that means something's been uploaded to the backend. So we have to add that item to our list of files that are currently being stored. And so we just do a quick function that just handles all the logic in creating a new object with the current plus adding the other one, and just replacing the state of that such list. And then for the remove, same process here. We just remove and then we just call this function. This function handles the remove. The only difference is once the item is removed from our list, we also have to remove that item from the backend. So we call another async function that will then send a delete request to our server with the ID of such file to get removed, and it will get removed from the backend. So that's the file upload component. if we go back to the add and update, the last little part I'd like to show you guys is, so once everything's good, it goes through the check. So this checks everything that is correct. We currently don't have a check for file images just because we are not exactly sure how we want to do this, but it will get fixed in the next week or so. And so once that check is done, it will then create an object with all the information and then send it to our confirmation model. So in our confirmation model, let's open that up so you guys have a visual. Inside of this, it just takes all the components for such, and then it formats the files so that it, instead of displaying with numbers in it, it just displays the file name. As you can see, we map it, and then we also do, yeah, we format it here, and so this just takes in the formatted files and just displays them. So the logic is we just make sure that we want everything after the last dash, pretty much. And so once that's done, we get the image, and to then send it to our backend, we just uh, take in all those attributes, pass it to our post, sales, and rent component. So let's have a look at that. So in the API function, if we go under lost sales and rent, right here, as you can see, we pass in all the attributes we need to upload, and then the Ajax call that we've created, we pass in the URL for it plus the ID of the post. So if there's no ID for it, it will stay blank because there's nothing. But if there's a file, there's already a post, and we just want to update, this will ensures that the file gets updated too. And so we just then pass all the data, and then we say that we want to post it. And so looking at the Ajax call for so this is pretty much just our function that handles all the server calls. So it determines what type of method we're trying to do. So we are trying to do a post, and if we have a token, we want to do this call. The other one is used to do a login because we don't have a token yet. We then call a promise with the header that contains the authorization needed to do this such call. And then once we got that, we can then resolve the response, and then it will send you back to the previous page you were on. Another thing we can do also is the delete. So once you delete, you can also just delete, and it will remove it from the view. It is not exactly removed from the backend. It's just status changed to disabled, so that once 30 days hits, it will then get removed from the backend, just to ensure that if it was done by mistake, we can just retrieve the post like so. Thank you for watching. I hope you understood something out of this, and